Émotion, réputation, mais les sensations, tu es mort.
Mais dis-moi ce qui vient dire. Ce n'est point un jeu dans le jeu.
Après bon Dieu, c'est la terre, et après Dieu, c'est vous mani. Ou qu'a toujours fait, j'ai moins content. La vie est plus, c'est qu'on est content. Moi, pas jamais voulu perdre, chérie. Moi, aimer, moi, ça, t'aime ça, ouais. N'importe putain, moi, qu'est-ce que pour vous. Ça qui ça, moi, c'est ça, ouais.
Ai, Dominica, meu caplé, seu capulé, seu cawache, bésame sa café, Dominica, sa café, Dominica, mi mauvaise. Mes amis, ça café Dominica, ça café Dominica, mi mauvaise ay Dominica, oh amitié, oh belle manière, oh unité.
All right. All right. A pleasant good afternoon. Bon après-midi, bonne nuit tout le monde. Tonight, we have another very interesting program lined up for you. As I'm sure all of you are aware, those of us at home and those of us in the diaspora, sometimes I don't like using that word, but I guess it is what it is. Those of us living in the diaspora is in a festive mood, I must say. Notwithstanding the challenges, but we are in the season of our cultural heritage, our celebration, our independence, all together. And this year, as we observe our 46 years of independence, it is held under the theme, Pays nous, cadeau nous, our country, our gift. And we are going to have a very interesting conversation around the theme. And we have with us a distinguished guest who is going to share some of her experience or knowledge. But what we have done, we've added to the theme, we've put a sub-theme, and we have added Sakot culture nu, or kilti nu, as we would say it in Creole. Sakot kilti nu. Pay no, kado no, Sakot kilti nu. And that's going to be the discussion we'll be having this afternoon. So again, it's a pleasure to have Aileen Burton with us. Aileen is no stranger to the program. She's been there before. And I'm sure those of you, many of you who are on, are familiar with Aileen's work, having worked in a number of areas as it relates to culture in Dominica. So I'm excited. I know quite a few folks have already logged in and is looking on as we speak. I know there are a couple of cultural activities taking place in Dominica, the various performances and a whole range of activities. So like I said, we are all, no matter whether we're in Dominica, out of Dominica, it's a time of year when we look forward to and we celebrate our culture as a people. So without further ado, I just want to invite my co-host here, Brother Loftus Durham, to give a few brief opening comments as we start the program.
All right, Alvin, thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you for hosting tonight's program. It's already 5 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock in Dominica and the regional space in which we live. Welcome on board to each and every one of you at this time. Welcome to Civic Vibes. That is the program that is aired each and every Sunday from just about 6 o'clock. Programs here really have been generating much conversations among you guys. And so, yes, we appreciate that very, very much indeed. This evening's program, as Alvin alluded to earlier, it's going to be a program related around our heritage and our culture. And so, yes, it's that time of the year. We call it our independence. And so who better to speak to us about her experience and her work in that field and trying to maintain and preserve our cultural heritage in Dominica, none other than Miss Aileen Burton. So Alvin, having said that, let me move over to you so that you can formally invite our guests here to tonight's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Lofty. Thank you, Brother Lofty. And again, a pleasant good evening to all our folks who have already logged in on the feed, Facebook, YouTube. We welcome you guys. Sit back, relax, and let's have a great conversation. So, Aileen, your brief, introductory remark before we get into the heat of the conversation. How are you doing, Aileen?
Muy bien, merci. Et bonsoir à tout le monde qui a écouté. Mais à Kamade, yo en bit. Chaque monde qui a regardé le programme là, ça, partagez avec 10 d'autres monde, comme yo a fait sur YouTube. Comme ça, nous avons parlé, nous avons échangé idées et toutes les questions, yo voulez demander, yo ça demandé.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I must say, Aileen, you look stunningly lovely tonight, as always. You have Creole from the top of your head all the way down. That cornrow, that Creole cornrow, followed by that jewelry, followed by that lace, followed by that jig. Mon Dieu, au Canada belle.
Creole mem.
Creole mem. All right. Well, thank you, Aileen, for your opening comments. Lofty, anything you want to say quickly before I get back into?
No, we can roll on.
Okay, great. All right. As I said in my opening comments, this year's theme is Pay No, Kado No. And for the purposes of our discussion, we're going to add to it Sakot Kolte No. And let me begin by quoting a quote from someone which I think most of us are familiar with, Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a Pan-African activist. And he made the following quote many, many years ago. And I'll quote, "A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." That was a quote from Marcus Garvey. Let me repeat it. A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. And basically, what he's saying here is that there has to be a connection to identity and stability. And he used that metaphor of the tree. Just as a tree depends on its roots for nourishment, stability, and survival, people need connection to their past to form strong sense of identity and purpose. And that without the knowledge of their history or lack of a foundation that grounds them in who they are and where they came from, then they're like a tree without roots. And we can extend it further to see as well that it touches on what we might call cultural continuity and pride. Understanding history and culture fosters pride and belonging. It allows individuals and communities to appreciate the struggles, the achievements, the values of their ancestors, which in turn inspire them to persevere and carry forward in cultural heritage. So we hear so many times the talk of Jacko and all the various ancestors, you know, fighters. And avoiding disconnection and weakness. That's another thing we can interpret in that quote. A tree without root is weak, is vulnerable, and is unable to thrive. Similarly, people who are disconnected from their past may struggle with a sense of direction or purpose, making them more susceptible to external influences and challenges. So we hear the talk sometimes, oh, our young people are more influenced by what they see from overseas. And then finally, we could attribute that quote to learning from the past. The past offers valuable lessons, and knowing it helps people avoid repeating mistakes while building on past successes. This connection enables a society to progress with a clear understanding of where they have come from and where they want to go. So that encapsulates that quote: cultural identity, cultural pride, connection, not being vulnerable, connection to your roots, to your ancestors. So let me ask, Eileen, as we focus on that theme, and as I said, the sub-theme, Sakot Koltenu, speak to that a little. But even before you do that, for those of us who have not been too familiar with your work in the area of culture, I know you've been on this program before. Before you speak to the actual discussion, just tell us a little about your background and how you got involved in culture and what all of that means to you. And then we will get into the whole question of the theme and asking the question, what about our culture?
Yes, I just want to add something to, before I begin talking about myself. I just want to add something, another quote from an African woman who said, a country or a people without a history are still enslaved. So
wow.
I will just leave this here.
That's powerful too.
I would
People
like to
without
say,
a history is still enslaved.
Yes, they're enslaved. I'm Eileen Burton, known in the cultural world as Auntie Eileen, which is an honorific given to people who, those persons who have done a lot of work in the culture, like Auntie Pearl. And I'm a nurse midwife, administrator by profession, but with a passion for Dominica's traditional culture from as far back as I can remember, which is about 3 years old. I wore my first duet when I was 5, and I have been interested in this type of culture, the traditional culture, up till now. It's my passion, and I get very excited when I'm working on it. And it's my life. It really is my life at the moment. Now I'm retired, and I really enjoy it. And my aim is that it continues for generations. My fear is that the young people, and I would not even blame the young people so much, but even people a little younger than I seem to be changing various aspects of what I know as the traditional duets. So this is one of the things that concerns me, because I know that there are cultures who have their traditional dress for generations, for centuries, and it's not changed. And I just am questioning as to why some of our people feel they have the God-given right to change it. So this is one of my concerns. I worked also with the National Council of Women. I worked for the entire year on the quincentennial, the Encounter of Cultures, the quincentennial year of the Encounter of Cultures, where I organized and coordinated programs for the entire year. That was in 1993. I have been a guider. I was the first international commissioner representing Dominica overseas, right to Malaysia, Singapore. I was a member of the Francophonie, the National Committee of the Francophonie, representing Dominica as well in Europe and Africa. So I think my life has been quite exciting, quite varied. I have gathered a lot of experience on my travels through life, my journeys through life. I was schooled at the convent high school, so I went into the liturgical sphere of Legion of Mary and Children of Mary and the YCS. And all these organizations helped to form my leadership skills, my character, social attributes, in the sense that caring for one another, caring for my neighbor, caring for different people who are less fortunate. You know, so I think I've had a little well-rounded childhood.
Thank you for that intro, Aileen. And of course, I need to add you were the founding member and leader of the cultural group in Dominica.
Yes, the cultural group.
Yes. Cultural group.
And I will add, it was with Kent Vital.
Yes. Yes.
So we were the two who really founded. He's the one who asked me, Aileen,
let's do that. Yes.
Yes. I must never forget his name. I never do, actually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Kent is very big on his culture as well. Yes. But let me I'll get locked in a few, but let me ask you though. I know your focus, you have a very strong passion for the Wop Duet. You mentioned it here already, and this traditional dress. But when we speak of culture, what can you say of, like, say, the music, the cuisine, the language, you know, all this other stuff? What can you say about that as well?
Let me start with music. I am a little bit concerned the direction our music is taking. From my childhood days, we had songs with melody, with a nice rhythm. They told stories, either about social events or, well, yes, social events, which include personal events that have happened, you know, in the society. It was a sort of satirical type of composition, where they gave gossip in song. So that was nice. It was nice. In some cases, it was a little bit, they were a little bit too bold. And the whole culture was that they paid off people not to sing. So that was part of our culture, you know. But the other songs, the songs that have remained, will give you a history of the Dominican people. We had, the people I remember were Mrs. Corderon. She composed the Creole songs, and we had this famous Miss Jean Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jean's music is like a time art. It never gets old. And what was so interesting about Jean's music is her foresight, because she used songs with the rhythms of the different dances. And I mean, this is just wonderful, marvelous. And all praises are due to Jean for that. I think her married name is Matsuri, not forgotten.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
The songs we have today, the calypsos, sometimes you get some good ones, and they still try to maintain a certain melodic genre. But the latest ones that I hear, which is probably a bouillon with some addition, I don't get the melody. There is just this constant rhythm being blasted out with no melody, telling no story, no social commentary, except what I am hearing these days, which Ophelia mentioned some time ago. A few days ago, actually, at the Ioli Blanc lecture, subjects that need to stay in the bedroom. You know, we have this fantasy about the effing word and feel that nothing is worthwhile if we don't use it. And I find that a pity because we have so much, the youth have so much to their advantage now. They have the YouTube, they can research, find synonyms, find antonyms that they can use, but they seem to be bent on that particular word, and I cannot understand why. This really, it not only upsets me, but I cannot see myself responding. As a woman, I cannot see myself being sung at as an object. You know, that I'm an object to the male sex just for this mechanical, it's to me, it's like a mechanical gesture.
Right.
When it is said so blatantly and so commonly,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and so frequently, it's nothing pure, it's nothing spiritual, no emotion, just this mechanical gesture. I can't accept that. And I feel sorry for the young children coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
We have the cuisine.
The cuisine, yeah, you want to touch on the cuisine and the
well, from the beginning, the Africans brought over part of their cuisine and it was mixed with the English and the French. So our cuisine is really a Creole cuisine and it's made from our parent cultures, which still exists today. We still exist today. I think we are quite safe with the Creole cuisine.
Okay. Lofty, you want to come in for a minute, Lofty?
I'm just taking some notes, Alvin, so you can move on still. But I'm tuned in.
All right. Well, I think what you said about the song has some merit in it because I mean, it just comes to mind now. You have this song that was created many, many, many years ago, Erica YII.
Yes.
And like you said, Erica YI, why you like to put your boom boom outside? And you know, it is still with us after many, 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 many years. Yes. And I think there's another one, I think Jean or Mabel Cordera did. Tiboy Kawasu Kotweme. They have this Tiboy Sotiasu Kotweme, where he was telling, I think it's a traditional one where this guy came to the shop on the counter, he didn't have money, and he was trying to buy or make a little break behind the woman at the back of the counter, and she's singing Sorti Duva Kotwemo or something like that. So you have several of those. Yes, several of those. But how do you respond to the fact that these young people today will say to you, well, Ellen, you're just old school. You and Alvin just old school. That thing is gone. We're in a modern time. We don't have to go that route. How do you respond to that?
They are probably right. I am from the old school, but we have principles and those don't change. I don't think principles should change. And there's certain things, and you know, we as a people should evolve and evolve for the better. I remember many years ago, actually, this same lady came back to Dominica, Erica, and she was a little bit disappointed. She said, they're still singing that song. So she was a little bit embarrassed, you know. I mean, nobody at the time, except those from the 50s, would know her, the 50s and 60s, but the young people wouldn't know her. But she was a little bit upset. I remember her saying so to my aunt. And yes, but can't we go above that? Can't we do songs that have more meaning since we are more educated now? Because remember, the people who created those songs were local people who probably just went to elementary school and they used the words that they knew. But we are at an advantage. We have education freely. We have the added.
I think we're losing your signal. Lofty, can you hear Elaine? Elaine?
Yes, I'm hearing her very well. I'm hearing her very well.
Lofty, I'm
Yes,
not hearing you.
He's hearing me.
I'm hearing her very well, Alvin.
Okay, so I'll continue.
Yes.
I will check your equipment. So I'm saying that as a nation, you are supposed to evolve and evolve in the right sense, in a good sense, in a meaningful sense. We are not supposed to be retrograding, you know, into probably the very elementary years of our existence, where probably there was no speech. And it's as though we're just beginning now to speak and to learn words. No, we should be past that. And we should be able to express ourselves in words that have the same meaning, but are said in a different way and not so crudely and coarsely. So as I mean, the younger generation now are probably more educated than I am. But I think we grew up with certain principles. We were not as free as the young people are now. And this is something where I feel independence, that word independence, needs to be revisited in the sense that with that word independence, people feel that they can do anything that they want to do. But, you know, you have to have certain boundaries.
Well,
young people must be aware of their boundaries.
Well, in the quote that I used from Marcus Garvey, one of the areas that I mentioned was that avoiding disconnection and weaknesses. And he says a tree without roots is weak, vulnerable, and unable to thrive. Similarly, people who are disconnected from their past may struggle with a sense of direction or purpose, making them more susceptible to external influences and challenges.
Yes.
So that's one of the interpretation of that quote, that people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture, like a tree without roots. So yeah, but let me ask you, Dominica seems to be unique in the sense it's the only island in the Caribbean, correct me if I'm wrong, that celebrates almost 3 months of cultural heritage and activities, whatever you want to call it. We start from September all the way into November. As a matter of fact, it's my understanding that St. Lucia borrowed our Journée Creole from us. They never had that. They were so impressed with it. That's what I understand. So why is it that we are still not able, and let me back up a bit, even the days of when you have the Journée Creole, when everybody's dressed up all, you know, nicely, I seem to get the impression that the young people look forward to that. The young children at the various schools, they look forward to that. The young boys, they're happy to put their little chapeau and their Creole stuff. And everybody, all the business places, the young women dress up nicely, even all the foods. So what do you think we are missing? Where are we missing out?
Yes, but let me tell you something, and I do not know. It is my impression that many years ago, and if Raymond Lawrence is listening, maybe he might be able to interject and throw some light on that. But there was at some point in time an association with the countries which spoke Creole, all down to Seychelles and Seychelles, maybe Madagascar, I'm not sure, but the French speaking or the Francophone islands. And they, I think, developed some sort of program where they would celebrate. So a particular day was chosen as Journée Creole. Raymond, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was done because it was known in St. Lucia, but they were not doing it as much as Dominica was. Martinique is now developing their parade like ours. And I think Guadeloupe will soon do the same. So that thing had been established. It's just that Dominica very often is the, how they call it now, the leader.
Right.
The forerunner in developing activities. Dominica's like a fete. So I think we were more advanced in developing real programs to suit this and activities to suit the Journée Creole.
Right.
Now, I think, yes, there is this excitement about Journée Creole. I mean, I talk about it and I'm getting goose pimples and I'm bubbling all over because I love it.
Right.
And as I said, my fear is that the traditional dresses are going to disappear because people are creating. And it's not a bad thing to create. And it's not a bad thing to use your initiative to do things. It's just that we need to learn the difference between traditional and contemporary and modern. And when are the occasions that we use the traditional and when we can use the modern. There's nothing wrong in creating. It's just that we need to know. For example, you can't go to church with a bath suit. Now see how bath suits have evolved until they're nothing, some of them are nothing but a little string. But you can't go to church with that. You cannot go to any of the churches with that. There's not one church that will allow you to come to mass or service wearing a bathing suit. So it means that there are boundaries to what we wear, and where we went.
Let me give you a little joke on the side. Yeah, yes. Back in I think it was in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, there was a matter being debated in Parliament. They wanted to do away with jacket and ties. I think Libra wanted to bring in the shirt jacket and everything like that.
Yes.
And
yes.
Eugenia went to the Parliament in a swimsuit, on the robe. And when they were debating the bill, she opened up the robe, she off her swimsuit. I don't know. Some people may not remember that.
Point, right?
Yeah, making a point. Yeah.
And again, probably this is why people would say, leave the colonial system to something different. But is it better? Okay, men may be more comfortable in a shirt jack than a suit. But when you go to Europe, you have to carry your suit with you. And men are very proud to wear their suits. Their three-piece
But you can also wear your shirt jack because when the African goes
but
to
the weather
Europe,
will
you
not
get
allow
African
you
clothes.
the time. The weather will not allow you.
Right.
So I'm saying we can adapt to our environment.
Right.
But there has to be a limit. You
Absolutely.
cannot just,
Yeah.
And this is where it is difficult to explain boundaries, what should be done and what shouldn't be done. People, I think, need to examine their consciences and see how they feel about Make a good decision, make good choices from experience and the experience of others. You know, there is a time and place for everything. And this is where I have a problem with the outfits, the traditional outfits. The other problem I have in our society today is the lack of manners in many instances. You come into somebody opens the door and they go out and they just bang it in your face. You know, nobody holds.
Would you say that's a cultural thing?
It is
part of our
cultural because I
culture?
think people were more respectful in the old days. You come in through a door, you see a person coming behind, you just hold the door and let the person pass in. You know, again, when I was growing up, everybody said good morning and good afternoon to each other. Okay, we can say that Dominica's the population in Roseau was smaller. But now that we have roads from all over the place, connecting the villages, and people come into town, and maybe they do not know persons, but you don't have to know persons to say good morning to them. You know, you're passing, you just say good morning. And you know, there's something in Barbados that I noticed. After shopping at the supermarket, we're sitting waiting for the bus or to be picked up. Anyone that passes, oh man, good afternoon, and they just walk past, you know, but they don't forget that morning and good afternoon. I think we are losing that, and it's a pity. It's a pity.
Lofty, what do you got, Lofty?
All right. Well, Alvin, thank you. I've been listening quite intently to the conversation that is unfolding here. And again, I want to put on record to thank Ms. Burton for doing her due in helping keep our culture alive, as it were. Ms. Burton, you mentioned a point that I just want you to piggyback on or elaborate on, in that one of your issue that you have is with the type of music that our young people listen to, the type of songs that some of our young people engage or produce of late. Whilst you were speaking, I was writing down a couple names of some of our younger musicians who engage themselves in that type of music. And I will try my very best to get them on here on that program so that they can at least have a platform to defend themselves, defend the type of music, the type of quote unquote enjoyment activities that they get themselves involved in. So I'll try my very best through the platform of Civic Vibes. But Alvin mentioned that you are sort of, or people like you are sort of the old school type. And you agreed in part. The young people, on the other hand, will say to you, Mr. Lane, you are the old school. And there's a
that includes me, Lofty. I'm in it with us, so don't exclude me.
Yeah, all right, Alvin. There's a new type, there's a new wave of quote unquote entertainment that we want to get ourselves engaged in. And so that is what the people of our ilk, our time, we are enjoying. And so how would you now explain what these young people are saying to you or people like you versus what you are pushing in terms of, you know, the principles, the basics, the fundamentals, and where they're going now?
For a start, music has a very powerful influence on a society and on individuals. Very, very powerful.
And it's culture.
It can unite and it can destroy. What is the objective now of the music that we have? To unite or to destroy? These are the questions that we need to ask. What are the benefits of the music that we have now? Is it to upgrade or downgrade the society? We need to ask ourselves that question. When we were growing up, we were able to go to Europe and feel comfortable dancing the waltz. Some of us the foxtrot, some of us the mazouk, and various dances because we were taught by our elders. My father taught us to dance a waltz. He would dance, I think it was a foxtrot as well. He had a funny little two-step he used to do, and he always used to get us muddled. But these were things that when we went out into the wider world, we were recognized as having some sort of upbringing, some sort of culture. And I noticed that when I went to England. Now, the music that we play now, what dance step do we do to it? What is the dance step? Are we teaching our young people any particular dance step? Are we getting them, what is the benefit of it? How are we helping?
Ellen, there's the body step, not the dance step, the body step.
There's the body step, and that is supposed to be an upliftment for the young people. Is that right?
I'm certainly on par with you. I'm just saying there's no longer a dance step, but it's more of a body step.
So, okay. I mean, it depends on which direction we want to go to, and are we being allowed to follow that direction?
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that leaders of this country and people in positions to control must draw a line. There's a time when you need to draw a line, and you need to. It cannot be that difficult to decipher which is right or wrong, which is valuable to your community and which is not.
So Ms. Ellen, do you think that some sort of coming together, a fusion of your type of music or the music that you're talking about now, back in the yesteryears, and the music of late, do you think that somewhere along the line there could be some sort of fusion, and so to keep people like you happy and to keep the young people happy? Do you think so? You just spoke about a line to be drawn.
And I thought that was what Booyah was going to do, because we used to have our practices, Rosa Cultural Group, with at Mrs. Phillips' home. And I understand that this is where the idea of the Booyah came in, because at one point they had a conch shell. But you're not going to, so I thought it was going to develop. And I think they used they had the conch shell, and I think they used all synthetic, and I think they used some sort of the accordion, if I'm not mistaken. But it started off nicely. But to me, it has not made any progress to include more of the traditional flavor. All we are getting now sometimes is 3 notes. And I can't say that I really enjoy the music. There's no melody. There's a certain monotonous beat, but no melody. I wish somebody would respond.
No, well,
let me, Alvin, let me just let Ellen hear a bit of what I'm talking about. In terms of Ridge, this lead
Ridge
singer,
and Chubby.
Ridge and Chubby. They
I
came
was
together.
just going to talk about that. I was just going to say.
Okay, so
that
before you talk about
a few days ago, yes.
Before you talk about it,
Chubby from Grande.
Chubby and Ridge,
yes.
They just did something like about a day or two ago, which was a good initiative, I must say. I was just
he has some good songs, and they have melody. He has kept the Grande culture alive. So he has to be complimented for that. But what I hear in Roseau at Carnival, let's hear.
Yeah. But go ahead, Lofty.
All right, here is Ridge and Chubby doing some collaboration on a song. I think this song from Midnight Groovers called Anita.
She chopping on the boy. Take it, take my money, boy. With that penny, boy, at the top. And she chopping on the boy. Take it, take my money, boy. With that penny, boy, at the top.
All right, I
that.
go to say Anita. Ellen, can you speak to that? What you just heard in terms of that cool
I
art?
can identify with that. There's melody. It has a cultural root. You can hear that cultural root. It's in Creole. I don't always hear his words well, but yes, I can identify with that.
Yeah.
And you're going down the road on Carnival. You don't want to fight with nobody. You're just going down, boy.
Yeah.
That is acceptable. I like Chubby's music, actually.
And let me say though, I think this young man Rich is listening. And like you said earlier in your conversation, prior to that, songs were being sung based on certain things in society.
Yes,
satire and all of that. Yes. I mean, you have this famous song that is called Siuti No South Take Fair. Young people don't know that. And it has to do with some corruption that was going on in a road project. And the people made a song about that. Siuti No South Take Fair. Then they had another one, Salaman Wule. All of that. And I think the point that I would say, coming from, if I say quote unquote, the old school, when we were growing up as young teenagers, because we were young at one point, you know, we didn't only get there where we are now. We were young.
Yes.
You had the elders and at the time, or the older people, and we were resonating to those songs and beats when we were young.
Yes.
I remember as a young man playing carnival in my 15, 16, and was going to those music at the time. Yes. I mean, you have classics like this guy solo sing Mass in the Cemetery.
Oh, that is a
that song can never die. That song will never die.
And it is so well written.
Other one that Point Michelle Girl.
Tennis Shootong.
Tennis Shootong. I mean, this song can never die. Even and in more recent time, you had NC. So I think like I said earlier, it has to, while yes, you have to live with the quote unquote the times, you have not to lose your culture, your heritage, your
culture and your respect.
Because it's like a roots without tree. And that in itself will be a top subject for a complete different program, I must say. I see somebody rap.
Here is an icon in the musical business.
Yeah, right. Just saw his note there.
Yes, go ahead, read it.
Watching. When he says, watching, when keep on fighting one another and making attempts to distort the vision, this is the result. Did I read all? Is that what you saw?
Yeah, basically what I understood he's saying here to us in terms of his listening is he's hearing that sort of putting up one against the other or trying to fight between ourselves as to the type of music. So Ra is saying here, an icon in the music business here. He basically, this brother, again, he's one of them I wrote down earlier to bring him on to defend their cause, as it were. Ra is saying there should be space for everybody to live, as it were, to survive in the musical industry.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I agree for a comment space to survive. But if we go back and we look at some of the songs and the music that Ra and CK created back then, I mean, when you look at that, I mean, this is like genius. I mean, you go to any party and you play some of CK old school jam, man. You could play it all night in a party and you have fun.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, that was creativity at its best.
Alvin, so but you have to take into consideration to Alvin, your type of fun may not be another person's type of fun. You have to to put that into the conversation as well, huh?
No, I agree with you. But what I will say to you, if you take CK, if you take an old CK, okay, Alien will enjoy CK in her 70s. Kids in their 30s, 40s would enjoy CK. And my grandkids in their 15s will enjoy CK. Because I have a grandson who is 15 years old. And when I play CK music in the house, he dances on it, he enjoys it. So it crosses all boundaries. That's the point I'm saying. You see what I'm saying?
So let me ask you a direct question, Alvin. If you play, I'm not saying you normally play this song, but if you would play one of the more contemporary songs, the Nasty Business as it were in you, would you think that your son that is bouncing to the beat of the CKs of old would bounce to that beat as well?
He most likely will. He most likely will.
Why?
But you would not play it for him either,
I wouldn't. Well, let me back up a bit. I wouldn't play it in my house to begin with.
Why?
Because I just find it's not appropriate. The language and everything is not appropriate. It's not appropriate.
That's fine enough.
And like Aileen said a while ago, you have to understand, is it uplifting? And she made the point, which we must not lose sight of. Music is powerful, you know. Music has powerful influence. It's powerful. I mean, you've had in the region in the past calypsos that brought down governments, you know, that showed up maybe put government officials for doing wrong. Maybe the situation have changed a little more now. They become more brazen. But the point I'm trying to make is that music has strong influence. So, and the creativity that goes that. But I know we are delving in a different direction.
And we are smack on the hours.
Yeah, let's go back to our culture.
Let's go back to Aileen and
the culture.
Yeah.
So
now,
let me
I just would like to say that discussing music and giving our opinion is not causing division. We are expressing our views. We are still a liberal society, an independent society, and nobody is prevented from playing what they want to play. But we are giving our views, and I think we are entitled to that. We are not making any division. We are not hoping to cause any rift. We are giving our opinion as the elders of society. That's what we
point.
And also one of, if we go back to the discussion of the culture, one of the cultural principles that obtains even today, I would say maybe more so in Africa than anywhere else. Young people, like you said earlier, respect their elders. Their elders has wisdom in giving direction, which you don't see today, which is a cultural thing. I mean, I remember growing up as a young boy, sitting down and listening to stories of my grandmother.
Yes.
I'm telling you, literally sitting down, and she's giving me stories, and strong stories too. And this is a person, my grandmother, may her soul rest in peace. She lived to the ripe age of 111 when she died, the year of Hurricane Maria in St. Croix, 111. So this is someone who had a lot of wisdom. And this is someone who took no high school, you know, no college degree. But you could outsmart her, not with anything. But today now, going back to the culture that we're talking again, do young people even pause a bit and say, well, let me hear what Aileen is saying, Auntie Aileen. I know growing up, I had so many uncle this and auntie this. Everybody was Auntie Aileen, auntie this, uncle that, you know? So again, what do you think we can do? Because every year around this time, we celebrate independence. We have all this big hoopla of cultural stuff. As I said, we seem to be the only island that does it for about 3 months. What do you think? And speak to maybe the role of the cultural division. I know you work there. I don't know if things have changed, I guess, since you left. What can we do? And how can we merge it? What do we need to do to let that resonate more, that, hey, we are people with a rich culture. Let's use it. Let's infuse it into our development. What can we do, especially for the young people coming up?
Well, I think Alwyn Raymond Poole left a very good foundation. And the foundation is there so that the young people now who have taken over They must be allowed to do as they feel and as they wish, hoping that while they're doing that, their objective is also to maintain the traditional culture. There, I would not interfere because I know the world is changing and I know the youth are expecting different things. So we have a cultural division with young people and we sit back and we watch what they're doing. We support them. And if we feel that there's something that's not quite right, then it is our duty as seniors to draw that to their attention. But we are not going to dictate to them as to what to do. Mr. Lawrence is not going to tell Mr. Matthews what to do. No, we won't. But we can give a little hint now and again. Maybe you can do this, maybe you can leave out that. Because, for example, the opening of the Independence celebration, and I really had a ball, I enjoyed myself with Chupul. There was an innovation with the Jinping band on the road. But I feel so much, I felt that the hi-fi could have been left out. To me personally, it was not necessary because for one, the hi-fi drowns the traditional music. So what can we do? We cannot express ourselves. Sometimes I feel like dancing on the road. I feel like dancing ballet on the road. I even danced a little bit with the gentleman from Granby. Forgetting his name. His name won't come to me now. But these are the things that I feel we could do to make the parade more interesting and not turn it into a carnival. All people want now is to just chip behind the band. Carnival will soon come. It's not far away. So leave the hi-fi for carnival. Let people feel that music of the accordion and the shingping. Get a few people, like for instance, Junior Creole, which is coming now. I hope they will have forgotten about the hi-fi. It drowns the music of the bands that are not amplified. And they don't hear us singing. We strain our voices. When I come back, I don't have a voice. Because we want the songs, the Chupul band, it makes it a point of duty to sing old Creole songs. People can't hear the band, they can't hear the singers because the loudspeaker of the Chupul band is small. So the band is drowned. Yet we could, without the hi-fi, people could enjoy that traditional music. This is what they have come for. This is the time of year that they love because of that sweet accordion music. So I hope for Junior Creole that the hi-fi is forgotten. I may step on some toes, but this is my point of view. And I don't have any qualms in saying that. You know, we should be able to have fun on the road. Dance a little ballet on the road, because what happens is that also the traditional groups are performing at different business places. So they don't really follow that Junior Creole band. So those of us who can do a little bit of ballet and a little bit of heel and toe should be able to do that quite freely on the road with the Jinping music. We should be able to stop, and why not do some ring games? Get the people from the crowd to join the ring games. Auntie, thread your needle. And they would love that, taking parts, taking pictures as they're doing auntie. And you know how people cannot do that auntie thread their needle anymore? A lot of people cannot do it. But this is something that would provide fun on the road. Dance a little ballet there, dance a little heel and toe there, swing around, the cultural officers come around, we do it with them. Dance do a little auntie thread your needle, stop the band for 2 minutes, get the viewers on the sidewalk to come and join us. And to me, that is fun. It may not be to other people, but to me, that is fun. It is showing the tradition. It is helping the people who have been away from a long time ago to enjoy, to bring back those childhood memories of school days. I don't know. It may be simplistic for them. I don't know. But I wish.
We are coming up.
Yeah, Alvin, it is 7 o'clock. We have to take that break.
Great point, Ellen. We're coming up to the hour, but once we take that break, when we come back, I would like us to go back again and kind of spend some time in terms of what can be done and to look at the youth as well. And how can we fuse the contemporary with the traditional? So we'll have a little conversation on that as well. But yes, we're about to take the break now.
Bouillon!
All right, folks. Yes, we're about that midway of the Civic Vibes program here this evening. Special good evening to the brother Ra listening and watching the program at this time. And all the WCK fans out there. Here's one of those. It's called the Bouillon.
Audience come, let's jump the thing like a boom boom. Booyah rhythm got the youths them in 90. Play the quad from you just like a shot. Holy lady from the west and the scroll back. Play the samba along your knee just like Baba.
It's all part of our culture too, huh?
Just a go one. Give me a little melody and it pium pium. Everybody calling it the accordion. Now give me the bouillon.
As I said, sometime in the future, I'm going to try my very best.
Watch them just balance in the short line. See our next one bouncing back in his skirt. And then man watching the white eye.
To get the views, yes, to get the views.
Now change position.
Of some of our younger people in society.
And round and round.
They too, they have their say. As to the type of music that they're listening and producing of late.
Hit me now.
And you must accept, yes, we must accept that a number of the young people, they are there as well.
You're so thirsty, man, give me reading. Season with it past the time and we steaming. Music we identify what we playing. Like that sort of feeling we figure.
So the numbers to call into the program, they're scrolling across the screen at this time. They're 245-2396
and you know,
or 615-9470, just in case you want to add your voice to the conversation. We are talking to a cultural icon in Dominica, Miss Aileen Burton. So to all of you with such ilk, the cultural icons in Dominica now, good evening to you all.
Whoa, change position. All right, push back factor. And speed around and roll. All right, put your music on. All right,
so yes, folks, it is 3 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Those of you in the region or further field listening and watching on, thank you very much for your eyes and ears each and every time.
Hey. All right, now.
We're having a cultural conversation this evening on this piece. Let's go back to Brother Alvin Thomas, who is spearheading or leading the conversation here tonight with Miss Aileen Burton, our specially invited guest tonight. Yes, Alvin.
All right, thank you, Lofty. Thank you, Aileen. We're back. So far, I think the conversation is quite enlightening. We're getting quite a few comments on from the folks who are there, and we always like to keep them engaged as well. So I'm going to take a comment there as we get into the second half of the program. It's coming from Gerald Vital, and he says there, music, art, and culture are entities of society's advancement, which evolve over time. But culture is the underpinning. But we have almost lost that. because we didn't make it part of the generational cultural heritage, tradition, and education through our elders and cultural and educational institutions. So he said quite a bit there, but in a nutshell, he's saying, well, here a while. The music, the art, and the culture are entities of society which will evolve over time. But we must not lose the culture, the underpinning of who we are as a people, I guess. Who we are, what we are, where we came from. And that we didn't make it part of our generational. So I guess what I understand him to be saying, some persons in the elders didn't, through the tradition, through the education system, through the cultural institutions, much could have been done to help preserve it. What's your take on that? Or how would you respond?
Yes and no. I think Mr. Leblanc really made an effort, I think, to how should I say, to promote. And we're talking about traditional culture now. Mr. Leblanc made an effort to promote it with the help of Mrs. Calderon. This is why the cultural division was formed with Alwyn, Ophelia at the time. Raymond came in after Pearl. And they worked very, very hard to maintain and promote the traditional culture, but also including the contemporary culture. So I don't think in the sense, in one way, nothing was done. Things were done. And that group of those who initiated the cultural division worked very, very hard. This is why we still have cultural groups all around the island. So in that sense, I think the base and the foundation was laid, and they worked exceedingly hard to maintain and to develop and to promote the traditional culture, including the contemporary culture of art, steel pan. It's through the cultural division that six form singers were developed through Miss Christian. So these officers worked very, very hard. There's always room for improvement. And this is where I feel the educational system probably lacks a little bit in assisting the cultural division in maintaining and promoting the cultural aspect of Dominica. Every school should have a traditional dance group. Do they? Every school should learn about the national dress of Dominica, which again is a point I would like to come to. When yes, I think it was Mr. Leblanc, when he wanted, you mentioned it, when he wanted to change the official dress for men to shirt jack, he made it official. But up to now, that Wop Duyet is not official as the national dress of Dominica. And I don't know how long it is going to take before that is done. So that is one thing.
Ms. Burton, repeat that point that you just made about that national wear not being official.
If you look into the laws, I don't know, the statutes of Dominica, whatever they call it, I haven't got a clue. But the shirt jack is the official dress for men.
Mm-hmm.
It is official. But the Wop Duyet is still not the official dress for women. It is not the official national dress.
So what is?
Nothing for women. Wow. Nothing.
That is something else.
It was.
If after all these years, Miss
by unanimously chosen by the people as the national dress of Dominica. It has been accepted, but it is not official. Wow. There is no clause saying that that is the official dress of Dominica. And I don't know if this is one of the reasons why people feel they can change it and wear what they wish.
Okay.
It is our dress, and there are specific components of that dress which should be adhered to at national events. It is not a costume that can be changed every year. the components remain the same. So this is something we need to look into. Maybe the young group, the young,
very good point. That's a very good point.
young staff at the Division of Culture, maybe we'll be able to ensure if this is one of their objectives, to keep that national dress that we have chosen as a people to be our national dress. Maybe they can lobby to make it official.
That's a very fundamental point you're making there, and for sure I will try to look into that, to ask some questions around, especially in the cultural division, to see if someone can provide some kind of. But in preparation.
Go ahead, Lofty. Go ahead.
In preparation for tonight's discussion, Ms. Burton and the listeners, I was just pondering on why it is that I think things surrounding our culture and cultural heritage and dress and food and music and whatever it is seems to be going down, fading away. And you spoke of Mr. Leblanc a while ago in terms of his efforts at pushing the culture. Eugenia Charles, I believe Alvin, yourself can speak clearly to her administration, what she did in terms of helping maintain or preserve that culture. Edison James, UWP, they did what they had to do to help preserve and maintain that culture. For example, as we speak today, the Chapeau Pie Day that is celebrated today, that was something that came out as a result of their innovative thinking. It is still alive and well today.
And I was the one who organized it from the cultural division.
Okay, so voila. Thanks for
confirming. And the famous World Music Creole Festival.
Added to that as well.
Had nothing to do with that.
added to that as well. And I am saying, after 20 years of Labour Party in power, can you, Alvin, can you, Ms. Burton, can anyone out there tell me what this current bunch, those who have governed the country for the past 20-something years, can you pinpoint something in terms of what they did, small as it is, to help preserve, be it an innovative idea, an innovative activity, whatever it is, to help preserve that culture? On the contrary, what I saw, it is on their part, sort of diminishing or degrading our culture. And it would be remiss of me if I come here tonight and did not speak to the fact that Jean Reeves, that we celebrate so highly in terms of she being that cultural icon in Dominica, her house where she lived, that was supposed to be preserved as part of our cultural heritage. That Labour Party, did what they had to do and demolish the property that she once lived in. It belonged to her. And today, what replaced it is basically, as Bob Marley said, is something sort of a concrete jungle, a piece of concrete that is just there. And that is another story. And I like to refer to biblical references to drive home a couple points. And I am saying in the book of Judges, it is said that it is recorded there in chapter 2. If we read that entire chapter, an entire generation, as it relates to the Israelites, they grew up not knowing the way their forefathers walked and lived. And so some of our problems that we are hallowing at today, I am suggesting now, it is because of that lack of passing on of that knowledge, that lack of preservation of whatever we're talking about, agriculture. And I am saying 20 years of anything is a very long time. 20 years imprisonment is considered to be a lifetime. 20 years of a government in power is considered to be a time changer or time-changing situation. And so if I am living in Dominica throughout these past 20-something years and I cannot pinpoint of any meaningful impact that this Labour Party government has had on our culture, that is an indictment. And so some of the woes that we're talking about now, it is said, everything rises or falls on leadership. And let me qualify that leadership: effective or non-effective leadership. And so when a government which is not akin to doing things to preserve, to help that culture that we say in our mouths we love so much, it is not just about food and eat. It is not just about eat and drink. It is about you being that visionary leader or slash government that you're supposed to be so innovative to say, okay, you know something? That has been there, that has been there, that has been there. What can we do to help push that culture? And I will be waiting for the answers by some of the enablers of this government to tell me exactly what has been done. Don't tell me what you guys are going to do. After 20 years, something should have been done to concrete the fact that you guys are serious about even having a ministry of culture.
All right, Lofty, thanks for that interjection. What I would say on that, I mean, the point you raise is quite salient. And let me just say two quick comments on that. One, I think it was last year before. I'm trying to recall which one was it. I saw the Prime Minister's wife had what is quote unquote supposed to be a wabduyet. It was not a wabduyet, or it wasn't royal in the traditional way. And I think the point that you're making there is so pertinent, that if at the leadership level, we don't recognize what is our culture and what we should do about it, then we have a problem. I took the opportunity to visit the Cultural Division website. I know Aileen was there many moons away. She left since she left. But I took the opportunity to look at their website just to kind of get a sense for this program. And there is a section where they have national figures. National figures. They have historical information, national figures. And sad to say, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 national figures there representing, given our history. You have the Carib Warner, that goes way back as the first Carib chief. You have Dr. John Emery. We know part of the hospital was named after Emery. And then you have Edward Oliver Leblanc. You have Isilo Black. You have Jacko. You have Mabel Cici Cordera and Pierre Collier. Pierre Collier was a farmer in Lapland who had a revolt back then in the early 18th or 19th century. Where is Eugenia Charles? Where is Rosie or Mike Douglas? Where is Frank Barron? Where is, I mean, I can go with so many other public figures that you can call. Where is somebody like Earl Etienne? This is Earl Etienne, prolific painter. Where is Jeff Joe? Songwriter, musician. I mean, and that is one of the problems that we face. So if you were to go in an educational institution now and ask these young people to name 1 or 2 of your national figures, they don't even know in recent ones like Jeff or any one of those are old. Far less to know E.O. Leblanc. Historical information, on historical information, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas. They've got a brief history on Granby, history on Delicis, a short history on the village of Wana, a history on Bacatel, Point Michel, and the origin of the band movie. That's all they've got. But I'm sure we have more than that. So I think you are right. If at the policy level, and I tend to agree with Aileen in terms of the work done by persons like Alwyn Bully, Raymond, and all that. But our cult it continues to evolve and grow. So we can't stop at 6 historical information or just 7 national figures. What happened to those who may have before, those after that? And if from the policy level, we don't do that, and collaboration. I know Eileen's talk about the schools not being, but there need to be collaboration between the cultural division and the educational system. So I don't know, Eileen, if you want to just comment on the few points that I just made and I raised regarding that as it relates to our national figures, historical information. One other thing I will say, I don't know how many of us know that there are certain books listed on the site that are available for sale. But go ahead, Eileen, if you might just want to quickly respond to some of the comments in terms of what can we do? What can we do to move from where we are to somewhere? Sakot Queltin.
Yes. Lofty was very passionate about the house, and I just feel it's rather unfortunate that it has been replaced with concrete rather than replaced as it was in its original structure. This is a house I grew up with, and it has a lot of significant meaning for the people more overseas than Dominica. People have gotten to know about the Dominica through Jean Rees and her books and her very explicit description of the island. So it's just a pity. It could have been turned into a museum. It could have been turned into a coffee house. The yard could have been maintained. Like I have seen a great house in Jamaica. It's the same as it was. Barbados, the same thing. So that could have
and
been
without
done.
tripping you, Eileen, the mango tree in that yard was 150 years old.
Oh, and it had the most delicious mango long. It played a very important role because the lady who lived over there, we called her Auntie Idlin, and it would pay her electricity bill. So, you know, there was a cultural aspect, an economic aspect of that famous mango tree. Children in Cook Street, Fields Lane, Independence Street, when that mango tree was ripening, people were running. As soon as you hear boop, you just people come from nowhere.
And it was bearing up until 150 years old. Up until the time they cut it, it was bearing mango.
So it's rather unfortunate that that has happened. I'm not going to go into anything more than that, except that it was rather unfortunate. With a little bit more creativity and insight and appreciation for our cultural history of architecture, it could have been turned into something that people would pay to go in, to have a coffee, to have some drinks, to visit the museum. Artists could display their paintings there. Jean Rees books could be sold there. So a lot could be done. It's just rather unfortunate. I don't know if I want to touch so much on the Prime Minister's outfits. I think she has chosen to do what she likes. I would just let her know that it is not traditional what she's wearing, and if she wants any assistance, I am willing to assist her so that she, as First Lady, could show the value that she places on the Creole ladies, the people of color who developed this costume. Give them their respect, give them the loyalty, and I would help her for her to wear it traditionally, but that is up to her. As far as education is concerned, I think there needs to be a deeper liaison with the cultural division and the educational system. I don't know what they do for social studies. I've never seen a syllabus, but the traditional culture should be part of that social studies. The Ministry of Education has not, to my knowledge, has not bought any of the books that I have written for children. And I personally feel it should become part of the curriculum, but who am I to dictate? I just pray and hope that God will give insight to those responsible and that this book would be put on the syllabus for the children coming up. They are our hope. They are our future. They are the ones to carry the traditional costume to the next generations. So,
and just give us a
I keep
little
hoping and
deeper
praying.
insight. Read that book, Elaine. That book that
I'm
you
sorry?
spoke of. The book that you spoke of. Can you just go a little deeper as to some of the aspects of it?
Well, I wrote a book for the whilst I was research and documentation officer of the cultural division. I wrote this book on the national dress of Dominica. There is a little, how would I put it? Maybe a fault on my part for including the cap visit or the round fula in that book. But it so happened that that year, for some unknown reason, the Division of Culture decided to use that type of fula. It is not traditional for our island, and I am still asking that question as to why it was chosen. And also, it was the first year that the Cultural Division had included the men to take part in the well, normally we know it as the Miss Bob pageant. And they were hoping that it would continue. But I think through lack of funds, it didn't continue. So that was the first, and this is why the photograph of the gentleman and the lady wearing the round fula were included. But I just would like to say to the general public, I was at the Division of Culture at that time. It was decided by someone to use the round fula or the cap visit of Martinique. But this is not the traditional fula of Dominica. So when you see that page, just skip it. Just skip it. The other two books I have written because I realize that our future is in the hands of the young people. So I wrote two books for children aged 7 to 14, but all the information for adults is also there. One story is based in Dominica, where two children actually, two girls, best friends, are preparing with their parents the Wop duet for Journée Creole. And all the components of it. The second book is written as a story also, but with a child of Dominican parents living in New Jersey. And she is so taken up when the family has reunions. She is so taken up with all the stories that she's hearing from her aunts and uncles about Dominica, the foods they eat, the clothes they wore, and things like that. She was so interested that her parents decided to take her to Dominica for Heritage Day. So the story is based around this child in New Jersey preparing to come to Dominica for Heritage Day, and she has chosen the Jeep because she finds it cooler to be used in Dominica. So I am really quite surprised that, and it has been advertised. I have written to the Division of Education, and I'm a little bit surprised and concerned that this book has not been absorbed into the school curriculum and the syllabus as yet.
So if one would want to obtain a copy or some copies of these books, how and
they
where
are
can they check?
available at the Pin Shop down Cock Street. It is opposite FedEx on the Cock Street side, and both FedEx and the tobacco factory, where Baron used to have his place.
Okay.
Just by the Freitas' office. So the books are there. They are available, and I am praying that they assist me in reaching out to the youth so that our traditional dress can survive the times.
All right. In the interest of time, we are 7:30 here. Arundel Thomas is listening and watching the conversation unfold. He says here, I hope Miss Burton can also comment on the evolution of our court. As a young child, he wrote, we were told many court. Many of them I still remember. Most of our courts used to begin with a sweet melodious song. Yes. They also had a moral a word of wisdom, he said. Can you comment?
He is very correct. And when I was research and documentation officer at the Division of Culture, my focus was on the ballet songs. So I recorded island-wide the songs of the ballet songs. Well, my contract was terminated in 2003 after I wrote the book, so I couldn't continue to do research. So that was an area I would have loved to have gone into, because in one of the, I don't remember exactly which year, but I went to St. Joseph and I asked to see some people of the age of 80 and over. And I went to this lady, they took me to this lady's home. And she sat down and she gave me one count. But at that time, we did not have the phone to tape, and I did not have a tape recorder. So I think this is something maybe the young officers of the Division of Culture and whoever is in charge of research and documentation need to do. They need to probably concentrate in that area. And Mr. Thomas, you are quite right. We learned a lot of conts. Our helpers at home would sit down and give us conts on moonlight nights. Always had a little song, always had a little devilish part and a nice happy ending. So this could be done. And also people need to write. I don't know if Brumant, rest his soul, has a book of his stories, the stories. But this is something that needs to be done. And unfortunately, my term of contract was cut short, Bram, and I could not continue. But these are the things that I would have done. Yeah. I felt that the Wop Duet was in dire need of being promoted. So this was my passion. So that's what I did. So but I also have a wide collection of the ballet songs which need to be transcribed. I transcribed a lot of them. But again, we need a musicologist to come in to do the musical scores. And these things can be done through projects. So yeah. I'm hoping that the young people will write some projects, ask people to, I mean, there is money out there for a lot of those things. And we just need to tap those resources. Get people into Dominica who can write music, who can write musical scores to document and keep the musical scores of those ballet songs. We need to do that.
No, you're absolutely right, Aileen. And like I said, I mean, I did anyone listening there could go on the cultural web homepage, and you will see the extent to which things are just stagnant. But let me ask you though, we've had this, what you call it, the Miss Wop Duet pageant, and we also have the Madam. So the Madam came in. I think you had the Wop Duet, and then you have the older.
Vina McDougal started the Madam Wop.
The Madam, exactly. So we had the Wop Duet, and then the Madam came out. Mm-hmm. What do you think? And let me just shout out someone who is on there with us, Maslin Edwards in New Jersey. Maslin Edwards in New Jersey is a person that is very passionate about her culture.
Maslin is supposed to call me and ask you to give me her number.
Okay, I will remind her. Don't worry, I'll remind her. I'll get on. And Maslin is big on the Wop Duet and the ship. She has an annual event every year in New Jersey, and where she showcases this whole thing. So hats out to Maslin, who is keeping that alive for us in the diaspora. But let me ask Aileen, how then do we get young women? I know they have the Miss Wop Duet, and the women go to the show. It's a beautiful pageant show. The women dress up and the way they carry themselves. I know you speak about the books for the young people, but how do you think we can, I mean, apart from this one occasion on 3rd of November, whenever, to celebrate independence. How else do you think we can help promote and get women to wear and own a wobduet? My wife has one for sure. She's even talking about getting a second one. Some time ago, somebody borrowed it from her. She lent it to the person. And when the person bring it back, she was so upset because she felt and didn't handle it properly and blah, blah, blah. But how do you get women to say, look, I must own a wobduet? And I know it's not an easy dress to construct from what I heard. It takes a lot of material. You have to know what you're doing and all that good stuff. But how do we get that? Do you think if maybe leading up to the celebration, someone makes some and have them available and say, hey, you could come get your wobduet? I don't know. I'm just talking wild as a man. I don't know.
Well, there are a few people who make the wobduets in Dominica. And how would I say that? First of all, the person has to have the wish to wear one. You cannot force a person to wear something that they do not want to.
Sure.
So they must have that sense of patriotism, the sense of wanting to keep their tradition alive. Now, some people go to the extreme, and that I am very afraid of. Some people go to the extreme. And I think I saw one with the national flag. I mean, I was flabbergasted when I saw that.
Wow.
So I'm asking people, particularly in the diaspora, when you get excited, just calm down. Chebe raison. C'est raison. Calm down. Go and research. I am available if you all need me. Because I am willing to come to give a workshop whenever you wish. I am retired now. Whenever you wish, I can come and give a workshop. I can bring up the dress of 100 years old, and the seamstresses will have an idea. Because people feel that they can make, because they see a long sleeve is all right. They see some gathers at the back, so they put some gathers at the back. There's so many finer points about that wobduet that people ignore. That, they must see the real thing for them to understand. And whilst they are constructing the dress, I will be explaining and showing how to wear it and why you do this and why you do that and how to do it. But again, as I say, people must want to wear it, and they must want to wear it correctly. Don't get excited and feel that whatever you see in the States and whatever is available has to be included. There is a new style I see where people are putting pearls in the headpiece. This is not traditional, and you don't have to over embellish the wobduet for it to look nice. You don't have to over embellish it. It's when you wear that wobduet, it is your stature, it is the occasion, your gold accessories, not too much, but something that makes you look elegant. It's not the more the merrier.
Madame Attiez.
C'est pas ça. Simple, élégant. Mettez tête comme Ophidia a dit, mettez tête à l'aise, marchez comme Antillaise. Creole elegance, as my little friend Giselle Laurent, she's coined that term. Creole elegance. It's not supposed to be a loud thing. Those people like Ma Pelletier and Ma Didi must be turning in their graves when they see some people and how they dress. The headpieces, there are special headpieces for the wobduets. There are headpieces for the jeep that can be changed. It's a little bit more laxity, a little leeway with the jeep. The wobduet is a little bit more strict. You have to conform. And it is the elegance and the way you carry that dress that makes you be seen, not the amount of things you put in the headpiece and as a. So when you're ready.
Let me ask a question again
So
before
before you go to the next question, Miss Burton elaborated on the women's wear as to the warb and the jeep and everything. The men wear much simpler, but can you go into more detail as to what is the wear that the men supposed to be wearing? Because that too has been changed.
Don't take much for us, Lofty. We're simple.
No, I know, but some people have been complicating it of late. I can tell you that.
I know they always complain that we leave out the women, but the women, you know, the men's outfits evolved very slowly, as is typical of the men. You know, your shirts haven't changed for centuries, huh? For generations, you still wear your shirt with your collar and your sleeves, whereas women have your shoulder out, back out, and everything. So it is understandable that the outfit of the men is simple and has taken a long time to evolve. But the cultural division, I don't remember what year, I don't have my notes with me. They put out an ad asking for creations for the men's outfit, for entries, you know. And they came up with a few which they accepted and adopted. Again, that is not official. The shirt jack is the official thing, not what the cultural division has produced. But if you look at Mr. Lawrence, when he wears his long sleeve jacket, this is a formal dress.
A matter of fact, Mr. Lawrence is watching and listening. Eh?
He's watching. Okay, yes. We should have asked him to dress up in his jacket. So when you look at Mr. Lawrence and he's dressed, you look at Daryl Phillip when he's dressed with his long sleeve jacket, it is made on the male outfit of the freed slave. But they have ignored the kofi or the hat, and they have made it simpler. So it is made out of the plaid. You cannot make it with madras. As I keep telling people, you do not use madras for the male outfit or the warp duet. The madras is a square that has a demarcation line. And if you make a duet, that demarcation line is going to show and it will not be pretty at all. So we have to put the women aside. Madras is for the headpiece and sometimes for the foulard, and can be used for the jeep because the demarcation line will be sewed in. So it can be used. Actually, it was used for the jeep for children many years ago. So the first one is the jacket, which is a formal outfit. Then you have a madras sash that ties from over the shoulder and it goes across the thorax. And it's tied on the shoulder and the apex is down to the side.
Is that the left side or the right side? The left or the right?
I don't think that makes a difference. But okay, if you're holding the man is to your right.
Should be on the left.
Should be, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it should be on the left. I have time to, I've been 2 minutes. Let me get my book.
Yes.
All right, folks, in the meantime and between time, we're talking to a cultural icon in Dominica. Her name is Miss Aileen Burton, giving us some instructions as to the national wear, both men and women. Very, very interesting conversation. So far, Alvin.
Yes, I think the conversation is very engaging, very interesting. I'm learning quite a bit there from Aileen.
Yeah. Also, just before she comes back here, I see Maslin put a note here. Maslin says, please be reminded that the Dominican Independence Church service will be held on November 3rd at the Redemption Tabernacle Church in New Jersey at 10 a.m. So those of you in that area, please take note as well. Yeah. All right, Miss Elaine, you're back. Thank you.
I am back. I am going to show you here. You see the gentleman with his jacket?
Right.
Right. If you look, yes, Here? Oh, what happened?
No, we're saying
No,
it.
you're there. You're right there.
No,
You're
You're
right
good.
there.
okay, there. There's one with a sash.
So it's on the left. He has it on the left. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then there is another one with a gilet in the middle, which is what
Yeah.
you're wearing, Alvin.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. So I had so it's the jacket, the gilet. You can also wear a cummerbund, a red cummerbund, and a tie, a
Okay.
madras tie.
So let me ask you, for the, let me ask you, Aileen, for the jacket, you say you can use madras material to make the jacket?
Plaid.
Oh,
Plaid.
plaid.
Yeah.
Okay, plaid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plaid. Look at the gentleman back here. He has a gilet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is it. And this gentleman here.
Okay.
All right. So these are the pictures of the men's outfits.
So let me ask you, Aileen,
Yes.
would you, well, let me see how I put that. You have various, like you have weddings, you have christenings, funerals, various events.
Very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up.
Would you wear the warp beard or the jeep to one of those occasions? Would you be out of place?
Certainly not. And I'm very glad you brought up that topic, because in the 1940s, there was this lady, Miss Joan Dupini. She's the aunt of the Dupini sisters, Jackie, Christine.
Mm-hmm.
And she seemed to have been a very nice and kind lady. She helped everybody. And at her funeral, they said dozens of women turned up in their black and white duets. It was even noted in the newspaper. So spectacular it was. It was noted in the newspaper. But this was a period where it was worn normally, you know. But they're saying that that impact of women with black and white duets was magnificent. So this is something that the people in the diaspora can do. If you go to a funeral, you can wear your black and white duets. People will be, they must say, you know, where is she from? They must ask you a question. So that can be done. All the old, the ways that the duet was used before can be reintroduced. I tried to do that with the Horticultural Group. We attended the funeral of Rosie Douglas in black and white duets. We attended the funeral of the late Clarence Signoret in duet and jeep. Baby Robinson, who was our cultural icon in Roseau, we also attended her funeral dressed in things. So Marvelyn Robinson, we did the same thing. So these things can be done, and we must not be shy. But we must wear it with elegance. Don't just decide this morning, oh, I'll wear my thing. It's not ironed, it's not starched. You don't have a proper headpiece. No. Ensure that when you wear that dress, you are perfectly dressed. Don't just wear it for wearing sake or to make an impact. Wear it properly. Then the next thing you all can do, also in the diaspora, is when a child is being baptized. You get a person, a friend of the family. She could be the godmother, but in the olden days, she was a porte, because the women had to remain in bed 14 days. And they had this lady who dressed in duet and who carried the baby for the mother, because the baby had to be christened within 1 or 2 days. Because if a baby died without being christened, according to the Catholic Church, it would stay forever in limbo. You heard of that one?
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that before.
So therefore, that can be done. And people must look and say, but, you know, where does that person come from? Then the other time they used it was to carry the bride's second bouquet. Now everybody wants to be kind of American. They're doing waltzing steps come in. It's like it's a whole theatrical performance, weddings. And well, from what I see on YouTube, I'm not calling any names, but from what I see at YouTube. But there was a woman who carried up the bride's second bouquet at Roman Catholic weddings because that first bouquet was left at the foot of the Blessed Virgin Mary. She went to her, she prayed, asking her, praying that she be a good housewife, a good mother. That was the whole sense of it. And she left her bouquet with the Blessed Mother. And the lady dressed in duet, carrying a nice tray, most often brass, shining brightly, would offer the second bouquet to the bride for her to walk down the aisle. This can be reintroduced, in the States. Okay. And then, of course, some people used it at carnival time.
Okay.
So, and for some Goa dances.
Right. So I know we spend a lot of time on the national, well, I can't say the national dress, the traditional dress, because like you said, it's not a national dress. It's the traditional.
Well, we have adopted it, and the citizens have adopted it.
Yeah.
It's not official.
Right. But I know we touch on music, we touch on cuisine, we touch on conte, we touch on storytelling.
Can we get back to cuisine?
Yeah, do that.
For a moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that persons who have been doing the traditional dishes for years be honored and be recognized. The people who have been doing candied sweets, tambourine jam, the gooseberries on sticks, they have been doing that for years. People who make black pudding, sauce, and crabapes. They have been doing those things for years and with no recognition at all. I would love to see them being recognized because it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of heat, and it's carrying on the culture. So I don't know whether...
Yeah, and there is an art to doing it as well, I must say. There is an art. There's an art. I mean, I remember growing up as a boy, I used to get Unbreakable.
Oh, from Ma Henry, of course.
From Ma Henry, and what I don't know if they still do is firing cocoa. You had firing cocoa put in a little thing like a
yes, of course, a little
I don't know if they still do that. But yeah, there's an art to this thing. I mean,
I went can be brought back.
Yeah.
These things firing cocoa. There's another one, Pemi. You don't see Pemi again.
No.
So I don't know who can do Pemi. If Alex Boyd, bless her soul, was alive, she would be able to have some classes in that.
Yeah. I know we touch on a number of things, but we hadn't mentioned our Kalinago people, which is part of our culture as well, as we discuss the whole question of culture. And in terms of the list of books that I saw again on the culture website, Ministry of Culture website, you have a book on Heritage Dominica, collection of old Dominican photographs. So volume 3. And I think it costs something like $50 EC. Then you have another one, a volume 4 with photographs again. You have the National Dress of Dominica, which you did, Aileen Burton. And then you have Heritage of the Kalinago People, volume 1 and 2. And then you have Dominica Expressions, volume 2. I guess there's a volume 1, a compilation of prize-winning short stories and poems. We talk about that, So there's quite some stuff there, but as to whether people are using it, whether we're aware of it, whether we take advantage of it, I think that is the question that has to be asked. Then you have...
that's where the education system comes in to play.
A directory of cultural activities, artists, and major cultural groups and institutions. That is also available. And you have the Belle publication by Darren Phillip. So they have a few publications there, but I guess if we don't know about them, then, it's just there. And to whether some of these, one of the things that I also noticed was that they do have some songs. You mentioned songs earlier for sale on CDs and DVDs. I know people don't use those anymore. But again, this can be, with the technology we have now, they can be transferred to a different medium where they can become available to us. So I just wanted to point that out.
Those books should be at all school libraries for research use, and then part of social studies. Otherwise, how else? It's not every mother who can buy each of those books for her children.
Right.
So therefore, they need to be within. That is where I feel that there should be a closer link with the Cultural Division and the Ministry of Education.
Right.
And I would love to see an academy of the arts as the Cultural Division. And that every day there is a class coming to learn something.
Absolutely.
To learn one of the dances.
Yeah. I see we're coming close to an hour. Lofty, you want to chime in? I know we've covered quite a bit of areas. It's very, very stimulating conversation, and even on the feed. You want to chime in?
Well, basically, Alvin, in a nutshell, it's 4 minutes to the hour of 8 o'clock. I want to thank our listeners, thank our viewers for being part and parcel of the conversation tonight that we're having with Ms. Burton, an cultural icon in Dominica, and still going on. And so again, I want to thank Ms. Burton and others in the vineyard, as it were, being the vanguards of our culture and its heritage in Dominica. So in terms of my final comments, closing comments, I just want to thank Ms. Burton for her invaluable contribution to tonight's program. And I'm looking forward to engaging her as the 46th year of our independence continue. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, well,
so in the next 3 minutes, we have to bring it down to a wire.
Yeah. Well, Ellen, let me have you give us your last closing comments as we close, and again to thank you for some invaluable contribution and information you've shared with us in that conversation. I think we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more we can go into. For example, you mentioned the headpiece, which is something we can discuss at another time. But your closing comments as we come to a close.
Well, I want to wish everybody a very happy Independence season, stress-free, injury-free, be safe on the road, prepare your duets well in advance, your outfits well in advance. I am here if you require any assistance, any help. I am available, and please try to keep it traditional, at least for Journée Creole, for those who are going to wear the duet, and also for the 3rd of November. I hope to see a lot of triangular foulards. Leave Martinique's cap visit for Martinique. Let us be Dominican. Dominican is ours. It's our gift. It's our beautiful country. Let's keep it pristine and traditional in most areas.
All right. Thank you for that, Aileen. Thank you again. We appreciate you coming on board and sharing that with us. We will be looking forward to you and taking you up on your volunteer or your commitment to help in that regard. So
you're welcome.
I'm sure we'll be having some conversation with you. And to our many folks who are still with us, who keep sharing their views on the feed, we want to say thank you to all of you. And as Aileen said, be safe, enjoy the celebration. There's a lot unfolding as we head down to our 3rd November independence celebration. It's 46 years. It's just 4 years shy of that 50, half a century. So let's plan now, maybe for the half of century at 50, we can do something grand in a grand way. And some of the areas that Aileen mentioned, we can see some action or some traction there. So again, on behalf of Civic Vibes team, there's the production, Joan, Lofty, and the rest of the team. Thank you, everyone, and you have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Have their lights straight out to the sea. It will some fish just to be pop up for real. Well, boy, cannot stand it in too much oil. So I get on my seasoning to do some Creole cooking. Chile, going on Malawi, Ula Titi. Johnny and never like fishing down by the bay. Nobody have a light, they don't easy as so they see. See them coming in from afar. And you shout out James C. Rasta. Chilling, going on Malawi, Ula Titi. Fish fry. Well, boss, let's do for boy, to buy. I never want to do that. I want it for you. Oh! Fish from that sometimes want to give it a love for free. Can't be too careful, not hold your God and security. Some want to sell the fish, but we know it too expensive. Like the one before to die and all them rich man to eat. Going on Malawi, Ula Titi. Not the line, fishing up anytime.